I want you to imagine you are walking into a high-end department store. Right there on the display table, you see two pairs of sneakers sitting side by side. On the left, you have a pair of white, minimalist leather sneakers. They are unbranded. They are made in a factory in Portugal, using top-tier Italian leather. The stitching is flawless, the rubber sole is durable, and they are clean. If you look at the balance sheet for these shoes, the cost of materials and labor is about $40. The retail price? A sensible $120. Now, look at the pair on the right. These are the Balenciaga Paris high tops. They are made of canvas, not leather. They look like they have been run over by a lawnmower. The fabric is shredded. The sole has black scuff marks all over it, and the white color has been dyed to look yellow and aged. Functionally, these two shoes are identical. They both cover your feet. In fact, the leather pair on the left will actually last longer and keep your feet drier. But here is where the logic of the market completely breaks down. The clean, high-quality leather shoe costs $120. The destroyed, canvas Balenciaga shoe costs $1,850. According to every fundamental law of economics you were taught in school, the rational human being should buy the $120 shoe and laugh at the $1,850 one. The law of demand states that we seek value. We seek efficiency. Why would anyone pay 15 times the price for a product that is objectively lower quality? But we all know that is not what happens in the real world. The $1,850 destroyed sneakers sell out for them. Why? What are you actually paying for? You aren't paying for the materials. Cotton is cheaper than leather. You aren't paying for the labor. You are paying for the glitch. You are paying for the logo stamped on the sole that signals to the world, I can afford to spend. $2,000 on a joke. The demand exists specifically because the price is irrationally high. If Balenciaga lowered the price to $100, nobody would want them. The moment the shoe becomes accessible to the average person, it loses its entire value to the rich person. The value is not in the shoe. The value is in the exclusion. This is a glitch in the human operating system that keeps millions of people broke, and it is called the Veblen Paradox. My name is Jim. I've spent way too much time analyzing financial statements and watching how smart people make terrible money decisions. If you are someone who has ever felt the strange magnetic pull to buy something you couldn't afford just to prove you could, you need to listen to this. Today we are going to dissect the psychology of status. We are going to explore why we are hardwired to signal wealth we don't have, and why the only way to actually become rich is to stop trying to look like it. Now, you might be sitting there, maybe scrolling through this on your phone, thinking, okay, Jim, I get it. The dirty sneakers are stupid. But I'm not that guy. I'm smart with my money. I don't buy trash. Are you sure about that? Let's be honest with each other for a second. Let's peel back the layers of your own spending habits. How many of us have upgraded to the iPhone Pro Max, the one with the 3 camera lenses? Not because we are professional photographers, but because we didn't want to be the guy at the dinner table with the old phone. How many of us have walked into a car dealership and signed a lease on a luxury SUV that requires premium gas and $500 oil changes, just because the badge on the hood commands a little bit more respect at the intersection than a Honda does? We do this constantly. We make financial decisions that make absolutely no sense on a spreadsheet, but make perfect sense in our social brains. To understand why we are willing to light our money on fire to keep warm, we have to go back in time. We need to travel back to 1899, to the Gilded Age, and meet a man named Thorsten Veblen. Now, Veblen wasn't your typical stuffy academic. He was a sociologist, an economist, and honestly, he was a bit of a hater. He was the original critic of the flex culture. He looked around at the society he lived in, the era of the Vanderbilts, the Carnegies, the Rockefellers. He saw these titans of industry building mansions they never slept in. He saw their wives wearing corsets so tight they literally couldn't breathe, fainting on fainting couches that cost more than a factory worker made in a lifetime. At the time, standard economic theory said that humans are utility maximizers. That means we are logical. We buy things because they solve a problem. A coat keeps you warm. A horse gets you to town. A spoon holds your soup. But Veblen looked at a silver spoon that was sold to the elite. It was heavy. It was ornate. It was difficult to hold. It was actually worse at being a spoon than a simple wooden one. He realized that for these people, utility wasn't the point. The point was waste. He coined the term that defines our modern lives: conspicuous consumption. Think about the logic here. It's twisted, but it's brilliant. In a tribe, in a society, what is the most aggressive, undeniable way to prove you are the alpha? To prove you are at the top of the food chain? It is to publicly waste resources. If you can light a cigar with a $100 bill, you are sending a massive signal to everyone watching. You are saying, I have so much surplus, I have so much power that I can afford to destroy value and I will still survive. I can burn money and I won't starve. This is the core of the Veblen Paradox. For normal goods like toothpaste or socks or gasoline, price is a barrier. It is the pain you have to endure to get the product. We want the price to be low, but in a Veblen market, the price is the product. Let's do a thought experiment. Imagine if Rolex suddenly decided to become efficient. Imagine they streamlined their production, cut their margins, and decided to sell their Submariner watch for $200. Now, technically, it's the same watch. Same steel, same gears, same timekeeping. But what would happen to the demand? According to Econ 101, demand should skyrocket, right? It's cheaper. But in the real world, the demand would collapse. Rolex would go out of business. Why? Because the moment the assistant manager at the local grocery store can afford a Rolex, it loses its entire purpose for the CEO. The value of a Rolex isn't that it tells time. Your phone tells time better. A $10 Casio tells time better. The value is the exclusion. The value comes from the fact that your neighbor cannot afford it. We crave these items not because they are good. We crave them because they are hard to get. We want the pain. The high price acts as a velvet rope, keeping the riff-raff out of the club. But it gets deeper than just economics. If it were just about money, we could fix it with a calculator. The problem is, this behavior is hardwired into your DNA. It is biological. Let's talk about the peacock. You've seen a male peacock, right? He has that massive, iridescent, beautiful tail. But think about that tail from a survival standpoint. It is a disaster. It is heavy. It requires a massive amount of metabolic energy to grow. It makes the bird slow. It makes it impossible to hide. It is basically a giant neon sign for tigers and predators saying, "Hey, dinner is over here. Come eat me." Why did evolution, which is supposed to be about survival of the fittest, allow this tail to exist? Because of something called the handicap principle. The peacock is signaling to the female peahens. He is saying, look at me. I am so genetically fit. I am so strong. I am so fast that I can survive even with this massive handicap on my back. I can carry this heavy tail and still not get eaten by the tiger. That's how superior my genes are. Conspicuous consumption is the human equivalent of the peacock's tail. When you go out and finance a luxury car that costs $800 a month when you only make $4,000 a month. When you buy a house that is too big for your family, with a heated pool you never use, and property taxes that keep you awake at night, you are voluntarily putting a giant, heavy tail on your back. You are handicapping your financial survival. You are making it harder to save for retirement, harder to invest, harder to weather a layoff, harder to start a business. You are making yourself slow and vulnerable to the predators of the economy: inflation, recession, debt. And why do you do it? To signal to the tribe, to your coworkers, your neighbors, your high school friends on Facebook, that you are a survivor, that you are fit. But here's the tragedy of this paradox. This is the part that breaks my heart when I look at the finances of the middle class. When a billionaire buys a 300 grand Ferrari, it is a toy. It is less than 1% of his net worth. It is a rounding error. He buys the peacock tail, but for him, the tail weighs nothing. It doesn't slow him down. It doesn't affect his ability to compound his wealth. But the middle class? We look up at the elites and we mimic them. Veblen called this Pecuniary emulation. We see the rapper with the diamond chain. We see the influencer with the Birkin bag. We see the banker with the Porsche. And we say, I want to be successful, so I should look like them. But because we don't have the surplus capital, we finance it. We put the $5,000 vacation on a credit card. We lease the car. We do buy now, pay later for a pair of sneakers. You are financing the appearance of wealth by destroying the actual mechanism of wealth. You are trading your compounding assets, your 401k contributions, your stock portfolio, your seed money for depreciating liabilities. You are literally eating your own seed corn to impress strangers. And the game is rigged, my friends. It is rigged because the goalpost is constantly moving. You see, the elites, the true leisure class that Veblen wrote about, they are not stupid. They know that once the masses start copying them, the signal loses its value. Veblen described a treadmill of consumption. Think about the logomania trend. A few years ago, it was cool to wear a Gucci belt with a giant GG buckle. It was a status symbol. But then, what happened? Regular people started saving up to buy them. Then, counterfeits flooded the market. Suddenly, everyone at the mall, everyone at the airport, everyone at the club had a Gucci belt. Did the elite say, "Oh, cool, we're all in the same club now"? No. They said, "Ew, that's tacky." They abandoned the logo. They moved on. They shifted to what we now call quiet luxury or stealth wealth. They started wearing $500 cashmere baseball caps from Loro Piana that have no logo at all. They wear gray t-shirts that look like Hanes but cost $800 because they are made of vicuña wool. They play a game of if you know, you know. They use subtle codes to signal to each other while excluding you. And what does the middle class do? We scramble. We panic. We look at our closet full of big logos and we feel ashamed. We feel out of style. So we throw out the old stuff, wasting money, and we rush to buy the new minimalist aesthetic. You are running a race against people who have infinite stamina. You are sprinting on a broken ankle, trying to catch Usain Bolt. It is a game you are mathematically guaranteed to lose. And in the age of Instagram and TikTok, this treadmill is running at 100 miles per hour. In Veblen's time, you only had to keep up with the Joneses, your actual neighbors. You knew them. You knew if Mr. Jones was actually rich or if he was just bluffing. Today, you are competing with the Kardashians. You are competing with a 19-year-old crypto millionaire in Dubai. You are competing with curated, edited, filtered highlights of strangers' lives. This creates a constant, low-level anxiety, a feeling that you are falling behind. And the only way to soothe that anxiety? To buy something. To buy the Veblen good. To buy the dirty sneakers for $1,800. Because for a brief moment, when you click checkout, you feel like you belong. You feel like a winner. But that feeling fades, usually about 15 minutes after you open the box, and a credit card bill that is very, very real. This is the trap. This is why high-income earners, people making $100,000, $200,000 a year, are living paycheck to paycheck. They aren't broke because they don't make money. They are broke because they are trapped in the Veblen Paradox. So, where does this leave us? I've just spent the last 10 minutes telling you that the economy is a trap, that your brain is a traitor, and that you are biologically programmed to go broke trying to impress people who don't even like you. It sounds pretty depressing, right? But here is the good news. Now that you see the strings, you can cut them. You have to realize that the only way to win the game of status is to refuse to play it. I want you to fundamentally change your definition of what a rich person looks like. In your head, a rich person probably looks like the guy on Instagram stepping out of a Lamborghini Urus, wearing a 50 grand Patek Philippe watch and holding a bottle of champagne. But let me tell you something from 20 years of managing money for actual wealthy people. That guy, statistically speaking, that guy is a walking balance sheet disaster. He is levered to the hilt. He is cash poor and asset heavy. He is one bad month, one market correction, one lawsuit away from losing everything. He is stressed out of his mind because he has to keep pedaling the bicycle just to stay upright. Now, picture a different guy. Let's call him Bob. Bob drives a 6-year-old Toyota Tacoma. It's got a dent in the bumper. He wears Levi's he bought at Costco. He doesn't have a watch on his wrist because he checks the time on his phone. But Bob has $2 million sitting in a low-cost index fund. Bob owns his house outright. Bob has no car payment. If Bob's boss yells at him tomorrow, Bob can just smile, pick up his box of stuff, and walk out the door forever. He can go fishing for the next 40 years if he wants to. That is real status. In the 21st century, status isn't stuff. Status is freedom. The ultimate flex isn't a logo on your chest. The ultimate flex is ownership of your own time. It is the ability to wake up in the morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. No luxury brand can sell you that. In fact, every time you buy a luxury brand, you are selling a piece of your freedom to pay for it. This is the philosophy of stealth wealth. The truly wealthy people, the ones who sleep like babies at night, understand that wealth is what you don't see. Wealth is the nice cars not purchased, the diamonds not bought, the first-class upgrades declined. Wealth is financial assets that haven't yet been converted into the stuff you see. So, how do you practice this? How do you override your peacock brain the next time you are standing in a store or browsing online and you feel that urge to buy the Veblen good? I want you to use the apocalypse test. Before you click buy, pause and ask yourself this. If I was the last person left on Earth, if humanity disappeared tomorrow and there was nobody left to impress, nobody left to see me, would I still want this thing? If the answer is yes, then buy it. Maybe you really do love the craftsmanship. Maybe that $5,000 camera really does bring you joy because you love photography. That is fine. That is utility. But if the answer is no, if you realize that you wouldn't want the Balenciaga sneakers if there was nobody around to see the logo, then you are falling into the trap. You are buying a signal, not a product. You are sacrificing your actual financial freedom to buy a temporary feeling of superiority over strangers who are likely drowning in their own debt. Thorsten Veblen taught us that we are monkeys obsessed with shiny objects. He was right. But we are also the only species with the power to override our programming. We can choose to value compounding over consumption. We can choose to value net worth over self-worth. We can choose to be the master of our money rather than the slave of our status. The most impressive signal you can send to the world isn't a watch on your wrist. It isn't a car in your driveway. It is the peace of mind in your eyes. It is the quiet confidence of knowing that you are safe, no matter what happens to the economy. Stop trying to look rich. Start getting wealthy. If this video made you rethink your next purchase, do me a favor and hit that like button. It tells the algorithm that we are tired of the fake flexing. And make sure you subscribe, because in the next video, I'm going to show you exactly where to put that money you just saved. I'm going to break down the invisible portfolio, the boring, unsexy, highly effective way to build that $2 million so you can be like Bob. I'm Jim. Keep your money. I'll see you in the next one.